All right, thank you. We do not have any recognition of the public this evening, but we are in our official capacity in our regular board meetings, but we do have a number of things we want to celebrate, and that's the reason why so many of you are here. We also know that we're competing right now with a program for the seniors over in the high school. So our agenda is going to be just a little bit different in that we're going to go right away to Roman numeral 5, the second semester celebrations, and then go to the seniors so that they can quietly get out the door, and then we'll go back and pick everything else up. But first, we have to do the pledge, so please join me.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for making your way to our board meeting. It is absolutely awesome to see a crowd like this at a board meeting. Awesome. So thank you for coming. I know it's a special occasion. This is what we call one of our semester celebrations. We are trying to create a steady rhythm of celebrating the awesome, amazing things happening in our district. And there are many of them. That's why we're competing with our seniors today. So it's actually a really, really good thing. And so this is our second semester celebration, and we want to make it really informal. So thanks for being here. Don't worry about the squeaky seats. We know they're there. It's okay. That's why we got the microphone. And so what we'll do is we will have school representatives coming up, and they will be sharing some of the wonderful accomplishments that our students have made. And we're going to ask our students to come on up. We'll have them introduce themselves. They'll stand right up here, introduce themselves to the crowd, and then they'll get to greet our board members and shake hands with our board members. And it's a great way for us to just say, thank you for all the wonderful things that you have done throughout the year to be successful. And what is important, what I would really want you to understand too is the adults that are in the room, the school representatives in the room, the board members in the room have been impacted by all that you have done. So thank you to our staff members that are here presenting. Thank you to our students who are being recognized today. What you do really matters, and we're excited about all the things that are going to happen here today. Very informal. Some of our tech stuff is what it is, so never mind the core here. Just be careful of it, though. So at this time, we will start with, again, some of those recognitions that specifically highlight our seniors. We'll shift gears, go to other celebrations, and come back to students. At this time right now, Martha Keene, our assistant principal of the high school, is going to come on up and take it on.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I'm Martha Keene. I'm the assistant principal at the high school, and I'm here tonight because our principal, Mr. Stallings, is with our seniors over at the senior slideshow. So, we have a few programs that we're going to start with tonight that include the middle school and the high school. So the first group we'd like to recognize is the Science Olympiad, and the team advisors are Tracy Majors and Christy Brown, and Christy Brown is here to introduce our students.
Thank you, everybody. We are actually going to be presenting both our middle school and high school, is that correct? And I'm Christy Brown, and I'm the co-coach for Science Olympiad, along with Tracy Majors.
Hi, I'm Dennis Brown, and I co-coach with Laura Murley for the middle school, and we'd like to ask all of our parent mentors to come up, and our co-coaches to come up now, if we could. We have Phil Smith, he's a high school co-coach. Phil's been doing this for 12 years, he's volunteering, so he started with his family, and now he's volunteering his time to help out. And we have Irina Napoleon. She's a mentor for middle school. Any other volunteers? Okay, so now I'd like to ask all the kids that are in Science Olympiad to please come forward. Anybody in Science Olympiad, please come forward and form a line. I'm always giving you directions, all right? Form a line. The Science Olympiad team meets all year. We start end of September, early October, we go through to May. The last 10 years, either the high school team or the middle school team has gone to state competition, which is really amazing. And the middle school team, 9 out of the last 10 years has gone to state competition. The competition is 23 different scientific events, all the STEM events, and believe it or not, these kids come in and compete academically, so they're coming in weekly for 9 months so they can do more homework. Isn't that great? All right. So, what I want you guys to do is say your name and say what grade you're in, okay? And then when you're done, just pass it.
I'm Blake and I'm in 7th grade. Grading is 6th grade.
My name is Alexandria and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Callie Holden, I'm in 10th grade.
I'm Sam Dora and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Carter Hagenauer, I'm in 10th grade.
I'm Nick Adams, I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Oliver, I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Lane Walters and I'm in 5th grade. I'm Kaden Walters and I'm in 5th grade. Allison and I'm in 5th grade.
Henry Warnke, I'm in the 9th grade.
I'm Michael Grimmett, I'm in 9th grade.
That's Israel, 9th grade.
We also want to recognize our 5 seniors that have been on the team that are at the senior slideshow. And it's Mark and Sophie Chow, who have been in the program, I think since about 5th grade. Ian McVeigh, 6th grade. Kayla Geller, who's first time joining Science Olympiad this year. Morgan Lay, oh gosh, I think Morgan's been in since about 5th or 6th grade. And so has Clayton Israel. So we want to congratulate our 5 seniors. We're going to miss them this year. And again, at regionals, the high school team placed 5th, and the middle school team placed 2nd. And that gave us a bid to go up to the state to represent our region. So we just want to thank everybody, and especially our students who did the right things.
And thank you to the school board for recognizing the program. We really appreciate it.
Well done. Good work.
Next, we would like to recognize our chess club. So I'd like to invite the advisors up, Pat Counts and Don Easterberg.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite the chess players to all come up. All of you. I've been involved with the middle school chess club for the last 7 years, 5 as the head coach. We have about 25 players each time we meet, which is Tuesday after school, and about 30 active players in the middle school. This year, something special happened. We became aware of a chess league, a high school chess league, that included 4 other CHL schools. We asked if we could join. They said we could. We asked the high school kids, would you like to participate? They said they'd like to. So Mr. Counts was a high school chess advisor, and I worked together then to try to make that a reality for our students. We had a wonderful year. Our varsity players played in the division with the other CHL schools. We finished 2nd. That allowed us to make the playoffs, and that terminated in a loss to Milford but we won a lot of matches along the way. So that was very gratifying. We also had a reserve team, and they participated as well as our varsity in the league tournament at St. X in late February. Our reserve team did brilliantly. They won the team trophy and all 5 individual trophies as well. So we are blessed with a lot of really good chess players here in Wyoming, and we're looking forward to another great season next year. I'm going to ask the players now to introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Abe, and I'm in 10th grade.
Arwin, and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Charlie and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm James Locker, and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Jackson Harness, and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Paul Stratman and I'm in 12th grade.
All right, we're now moving on to our high school only groups. So I'd like to invite Molly Williams up to talk about her art.
Hello, I'm Molly Williams, and I've actually taught many of you here. I previously spent the past 4 years teaching primary and middle school, and then this year moved up to high school. Our district is fortunate enough to have a thriving arts program, a community that really supports the arts, and it's inspiring to see our high school students plan, create, and hone their skills in the visual arts in the classroom. It's even more inspiring to see them in the art thrive outside of Wyoming. And we're going to recognize students who have entered contests and competitions this past year. And honestly, I think a lot of them are seniors at the senior night. But I did see Katie Callahan. Okay. Yeah, come on up. And let's see, I don't know if St. Dias here. Well, I'll just, the ones who are not here, I'll also just say their names so we can brag on them too. So the first art show we entered this spring was the Ohio State House Show. It's something new that we did. Myself and a handful of art teachers in the state of Ohio that are part of the Ohio Art Association were invited to showcase a handful of students and have their artwork displayed in the state capitol in Columbus. And it was to remind the legislators the importance of art in education and to celebrate our talented students. And so those students that were chosen were Kate Wyman, Sandaya Iyer, Ian McIvan, and Hannah Wagers. So their artwork was displayed and seen by many. The other art show I want to talk about is the 2022 Ohio Governor's Youth Art Exhibit. It started with 10,000 entries in the state of Ohio, so many of our students participated in that. But what was amazing for our district, besides that, it is with 300, they go from 10,000 to 300 of those works are actually juried and selected for exhibition. And those students then compete for prizes and scholarships. So we had four of our Wyoming students were chosen to compete. And they were Josh Danielson, Mirabelle Domka, Kate Wyman, and Kate Callahan. And also, Katie was one of the many students who entered the Scholastic Art Awards. But what's really amazing, not only did she have her work displayed regionally here in Cincinnati, she went on to receive the Regional American Visions Award, which only 5 are given regionally, and as well as the National Silver Key Award. So big, big thanks. And Katie's only a sophomore, so I can't wait to see what else she'll accomplish. Very amazing. It's a great job. And thank you to all our art students in the district, especially the ones who talked tonight. You put your time, energy, passion into the art program and continue to make Wyoming a great place for the arts. Tonight's recognition is rightfully deserved, and I am proud of you all. So keep creating. Thank you.
I'd like to now invite Teacher Bo Jesse up to talk about our mock trial students.
Hi, I'm Bo Jesse, and I am faculty advisor of the mock trial team. Mock trial, we practice 2 evenings a week from October to January, where we take part in a statewide academic competition. I'd like to ask Katie Rhodes and Addison Miller to come up here. Today we are recognizing our team this year that advanced to the regional finals and our students that won awards, Best Attorney and Best Witness awards at the competition. Unfortunately, our 3 senior leaders were not able to be here tonight. They're over at the senior slideshow. But I want to say a couple words about them because they were really important to our team. So, Tamara Doolin was our fearless leader this year. She's been doing mock trials since freshman year. She really stepped up this year and led our team to the regional finals while winning the Best Attorney Award. She also recruited 2 of her friends, Kennedy Mandry and Cameron Mandry, who fit mock trial into their very busy schedules and participated for the first time as seniors and both won Best Witness Awards. And they are going to be passing the torch next year to these 2 who are going to lead us back to the regional finals and maybe the state championship competition. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Katie Rhodes and I'm a junior. Hi, my name is Addison Miller and I'm a freshman.
Thank you.
Next, we are going to recognize our academic team. However, Lisa Knox could not be here tonight. Her son graduated from law school today, so she chose to attend that. But I have some words from her that she would like to share with everybody. If anyone is here from the academic team, come on up. The Wyoming High School academic team, also known as WHAT, won the Cincinnati Academic League this season and advanced to regionals. At regionals, after a grueling day of hard-fought matches, they won one of the 2 Southwest region spots to compete at the state level. However, this team is about more than the accolades and the trophies. This is a group of students who are curious about the world and love to collect facts. They are fierce competitors with a strong sense of honor and fair play. They make their coach proud with every single match. Zola Hoffmeister and Avi Rosenberg have been on the team for several years, and each brings a strong base of knowledge. Jasper Anderson has only been with the team a short time after moving to the district. In these short 2 months, he has already become an integral part of the team. Josh Bogan is the co-captain of the team and knows more about geography than most people his age and older. It is as if his brain were wired directly to Google Maps. At least that's what the other teams seem to think when he answers questions with a minuscule amount of information given. Liam O'Shaughnessy and Nathaniel Miller are at senior night. That is incorrect. They will both be dearly missed. by this team for their knowledge and as teammates. This year was an incredible season, and we are excited for next year. Thank you.
I'm Audrey Rosenberg, I'm in 10th grade.
I'm Liam O'Shaughnessy, not at the senior night. I'm in 12th grade varsity captain.
I'm Josh Bogan, I'm a junior, currently co-captain.
I'm Zola Hoffman, I started in 11th grade.
Lesson learned on sticking strictly to a script. I'd like to invite teacher Carol Leonard to come up to talk about the model plan.
Hi, I'm Terrell Manner. I'm in the Social Studies Department at the high school, and we are thrilled this year to be traveling again after an entire year of conferences online, which after a whole day of school online for a lot of kids was really, really hard. Our kids can shine in any possible venue, but having them in person just lets you appreciate how amazing they truly are. And when we go to conferences around the region, out of the country, I can't tell you how many times people say to me, we've already heard of your team, we know how good your kids are, we can't wait to see them in action. And this was our 8th year back in the fall of holding our own college level conference. We've been a model for schools around the state. And again, when we were just at Michigan, kids coming up to us, oh my gosh, we've heard about your conference. How can we get in touch with you? How can we visit at your conference? Other advisors coming up wanting to know about starting teams. So your students are being ambassadors for one of the best programs that I have ever really had the pleasure to be a part of. At a time when the world feels a little unstable, I think we are blessed with kids who want the opportunity to lead and to shine and to collaborate around the country and around the world. So guys, can you come on?
I'm Jackson Marcus, and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Anthony Franczak, I'm in the 10th grade, and I got honorable delegate at Indiana.
I'm Zach Sparrow. I'm a junior at Wyoming High School, and I got best delegate at the Michigan Conference.
I am Andrew Burns, I'm a sophomore, and I got honorable mention at the University of Michigan.
I'm Audrey Rosenberg, I'm in 10th grade. I got outstanding at the University of Indiana and a verbal award at the University of Michigan.
Hi, I'm Sam Joel, I'm in the 11th grade.
I'm Ryan Canfield. I'm a junior, and I won the honorable award at Indiana.
Hi, I'm Emma Feldmeyer. I'm in the 11th grade, and I won Outstanding Delegate at the Indiana Conference and Honorable Mention at the Michigan Conference.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Omidvar. I won Outstanding at the Indiana Conference and Verbal at the Michigan Conference.
Hi everyone, I'm Liam. You probably know me. I was the Secretary General of Wyoming this year, and I won honorable at Mason.
I'm Katie Callahan. I won Outstanding at Indiana and Honorable at Michigan.
Josh Bogan, I'm a junior.
I'm Danielle Sabalink. I'm a senior. I got Outstanding at Indiana and Verbal at Michigan.
I'd now like to invite up Beth King to talk about our student athletes.
Good evening. I'm Jeff King. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director here at Wyoming. And first and foremost, we're going to recognize the senior athletes, and I'll come back and recognize a few more. as we continue on. We had a ton of senior incredible accomplishments across that class this year. But a few that we'd like to highlight. I'm not sure if they're all here, but we have Coach Isaac Karn with Grace Courtney, his senior diver. I'm not sure if Grace is here, but if he was here, if she was here, it would actually take a lot longer to go through her accomplishments because she is a two-time state champion in diving as well as a state record holder 2 times. So she's one of the most accomplished athletes in our history. And she will be diving at Notre Dame next year. Coach Bobby Lyons with his senior Malachi O'Leary. I didn't see Bobby or Malachi. Malachi is a senior wrestler. He is a 2-time district and sectional champion and 2-time state qualifier and placer in wrestling. And I do see Coach Tom Crawford, who's our girls lacrosse coach, and yeah, absolutely, give it up for Tom. The senior we're going to recognize was Victoria Chesson. She's the leader of that team. She's actually going on a scholarship to play at Central Michigan next year, so she's a Division I lacrosse player. And I don't know that much about lacrosse, but I do know when I watch them play, it's pretty easy to see Victoria stand out. So it's been awesome watching her play. Coach Crawford is our outstanding girls lacrosse coach. Tomorrow he will be playing in his 3rd straight Sweet 16 for girls lacrosse. So Coach, if you want to say a few words about the team.
Thank you, Jeff. Tomorrow night's a big game, and after you finish your dinner, please come out and watch us and watch Victoria. Like Coach King said, Victoria is going to Central Michigan to play. Last year, she was the 2nd team All-State, and we're hoping this year she'll be 1st team, as well as some other postseason awards that are coming up. So come on out and see Victoria.
I think that's all of our seniors. Is that right? All right, I'm going to give the mic back to Tim, and then I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay, so I think we're going to make a little transition here and do some district level acknowledgements, recognitions, and then come back to students in a little bit. I think that's all of our seniors that we're recognizing. If there are any still in the room and they want to head back to the high school for their awards night, they can do that at this time. We're going to pause for about 30 seconds and shift gears. Okay.
All right, thank you. We're going to start in again with our agenda with the special recognition. Tonight, the first people we're going to recognize are those who are retiring. We have 5 different people who are retiring from our district this year, and we're here to recognize their service over the years and to thank them for their continued service to our children. And so we'd like to recognize, I don't believe they are all here tonight, but I do want to talk about each one. First of all, I also want to give my annual, here's what happens after you retire, having been through it myself. So I just want to pass on to those who are retiring from teaching. First of all, the most important thing is somehow the first week of school in August, you have to make sure you are nowhere near Wyoming. There are gigantic magnets on every building, and they will pull you back in. So please make sure you're out of town, which leads me to number 2. You get to travel now, both in the fall and the spring. And it's unbelievable. Last thing is you're going to be very popular among people. You're well organized. You can live on a schedule, and you've got person skills. out the wazoo. You know how to deal with people. So everybody's going to want to be with you next year. And so we probably have to work on a no or give me a little bit of time before you commit to the many things you're going to do as retired people, because you've been so outstanding as people working for us. We know it's only going to continue. So the first person, I'm going to go in alphabetical order. I'd like to recognize Lynn Herndon Day. Lynn started in 2003. So bottom line, what we did is we have just replaced a legend with a legend. So Lynn has been with us since 2003, teaching strings. We've had a strong program since probably forever. Certainly it was in place before I moved into Wyoming, and it continues to be a fabulous program. Lynn has been part of a team. Our whole music team is a good, strong team. She's been part of it. When she was here in the middle school before the renovations, in order to get in a classroom, she moved generally in that area over there, but it didn't look that way. She was in a room I can only describe to you as a dungeon. It had no windows, it had ugly paint on it, it was falling apart, and the ceiling was miserably low too. But she made it work. She wanted a second strings room, and we only got better. Lynn has also played a huge role in being from the teacher side in the Wyoming School Music Association, WSMA. That is a strong group we have here in this community. We're lucky to have them as advocates for our music program. Another thing that Lynn has done, she worked both in the primary and the middle school. She's been the music department chair over the years. And she has also been the mother of 2 Wyoming graduates. She lives here in Wyoming and has told me that she's not going anywhere either. So we're going to see her around town. That's the first week of school. You've got to be out of town. Okay. All right. So when I approached other people, I said, okay, try and give me a description of Lynn in just 1 or 2 words. They couldn't do it in just 1 word. But the big one I kept hearing was high energy. So, and that really truly does describe our Lynn. So thank you for your service. You will be missed. Dr. Michael Dorsey, is he here this evening? All right, Dr. Dorsey is in the high school. He will be retiring. He has been there since 1999. So that means when he first started, he started in the new building that you all don't think of as a new building today, but those of us who've been in Wyoming for a long time, that's 1999 is when that building opened. He has been a high school science teacher, mostly in the field of biology. He has taught AP biology. He's an outdoorsman, and the word that was given to me was unflappable. So Mike Doolin. Mary Ellen Nickel, who I assume is also over at the high school right now. Mary Ellen Nickel is retired. She's the high school guidance secretary. She has been there since 2008. I would say the best way to describe her is the anchor of the counseling department, because that administrative system has to keep everything together. Any kind of deadline has to be met. Decisions have to be made. And so as you would expect with the counseling department, with many things happening all at one time, it's good to have that strong anchor in the middle of it. Mary Ellen is also the mother of 2 Wyoming graduates, also a Wyoming resident, and also the wife of many of you know Coach Nickel, or have had him as a substitute. So we wish her good luck. The word that was given to me, smart. Laura Rudick. the attendance secretary in the middle school. She's currently the attendance secretary in the high school. She was the assistant, or primary attendance secretary in the primary. I know personally, and I'm going to give her a title, she was the assistant principal at Vermont. And I say that because we have 2 principals and we have 3 buildings, and how in the world those people manage to make themselves work from 2 people to 3 buildings is because they have someone in each building they can depend on, and that's where Laura fits in. Laura fits in, sorry. I'm also going to name her mom because I think a whole lot of you have called her that over the years, because she has offered her shoulder, she has offered her advice to the little primary people. She's taken care of them when they were sick or lonely or got mixed up and needed to be straightened out. She is also the mother of 2 Wyoming graduates, also lives in Wyoming, and the word, there were a couple, but the one that kept coming up, fun.
Thank you for sharing your children with me over the past 18 years.
And last, I'd like to recognize Diane Weber. I don't think she's, no, okay. Diane Weber is, she started in 1997. She started in Hilltop as the secretary, the administrative secretary to the principal in Hilltop School. Eventually, she found her way over to the board office, where she has worked in the central office. Kind of hidden from view. If you ask me to go over there and show you where her office is, I have no clue. It's back in the back. But she has done so much for us. We also know her as the other Weber at the central office. And I believe her husband's name is Tim.
It is.
Yes. So there it gets very confusing. I thank her for her service, and the word that was given me was smiling. All right, rather than let's go on to the next thing, we want to recognize our outgoing community leadership positions. First, we want to thank and give a huge hurrah to Liz McLean. Is she here? Liz McLean is the outgoing president of PSA and has just been involved with an exceptional making. So thank you to Liz. The Board of Education has a kind of a side arm called our CAC, and we want to recognize those who are outgoing, having served their 2-year commitment. And this year, those are our 3 teachers who will be going off the CAC. The CAC does research. In fact, in a little while, we're going to talk about some of the work they've done. They do research for us. They bring a whole good point of view, different point of view to us. So as board members, we have lots of good, solid information we can use as we come upon new ideas that we'll be using in the schools. We want to thank them for serving. They, the 3 teachers are David Ambrose, he's here, I thought I saw. Maria Stewart. And Tyler Skyler. So Tyler representing the middle school, Maria primary, and Diane from high school. Thank you for your service. Then we have 2 community members, Shannon Myatt and Cindy Peebles. Are they here? Thank them for their contributions as well. All right, that takes us back to
Jeff King's going to come back up, and we're going to get right back to student celebrations.
All right, so just like I said with the seniors, how many accomplishments that they had, there's also a broad number that we could be celebrating here today, but there were some that we wanted to call up. I'm going to go ahead and start with Coach Dave Elliott, our head swim coach, and Carter Hagnauer and Kylie Chu, if you are here as well. I know I saw Carter. Yep. As Coach comes up here, Carter and Kylie were both state qualifying swimmers this year.
First, I do want to thank a few people, Mr. King, the Board of Education, just all our parents that support our program. I know some of you are here. Yeah, this will be my 16 years now as head coach. We train over at Powell Crosley Y, so not a far commute to train. But yeah, Carter was a state qualifier this year. He qualified in the 500 free. It was his first year qualifying for us. Kylie, who's not here, it's her second year qualifying in the 100 breaststroke. And I was just trying to think of a few words that make up swimmers in general. And Carter, Kylie definitely fit this bill for this. But passion, courage, vision, resilient, confident, integrity. So I think our swim program tries to represent all those things. Carter and Kylie definitely, help bring that forward in our team. And I'm just really proud of what they accomplished and what our whole team accomplished this year. So thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to recognize some athletes on our track and field team, as well as their coaches. So if we could have Joel Allen, Addie Hamilton, and Penelope Webb please come up with their coaches, Greg Nickel, Chris Allen, and head coach Dennis Chapter. As they come up, you can think of these three athletes right now. They're still competing this year, all qualified for the regional championships, and will probably be responsible for a lot of record board inserts that I have to order here in the next couple of years. So they've had a great year and a great career so far.
All right. I'm Dennis Chapter. I'm the head track coach, and I'm glad we didn't get to go earlier. That means we get to have these athletes for another couple of seasons here. So first off, Addie Hamilton. Addie is a sophomore. In 8 meets this year, Addie has finished as meet champion in 5 of those, including her last 3. She was runner-up in the 3 meets that she did not win. She's the leading point scorer for the girls team. She's a 2-time CHL champion, tying the CHL meet record this year with a vault of 11 feet a couple weeks ago. And then after earning a share of the school record of 8'6" last year as a freshman. She's already extended that record now to 11 feet 8 inches. She did that at the district championship, and that vault broke the previous district record by 4 inches. She's a 2-time regional qualifier. She actually placed last year as a freshman, coming in 7th. And she'll be vaulting at the regional championship on Saturday. She currently has the 7th best vault in Ohio Division II this year. And I'm also going to let Greg Nickel, her coach, say a few words.
With those accomplishments, Addie just started voting in March of last year. And within 3 months, she had a track school record. And a typical year, if I get a flip or put in half improvement out of an athlete, that's a really good year. Addie improved over March by over 3 feet in 1 year. And she's basically because she was very determined to get good at the sport. She had really good support from her family, and she's
has great things ahead of her. So I fully expect Addie to make it to the state meet next week. So we'll see everything on Saturday morning.
The next athlete is Penelope Webb. Penelope is just a freshman. She's competed in 8 meets this year, and after finishing 4th and 3rd in her first 2 meets with jumps to 4 feet 10, she's gone on to finish as meet champion in 5 out of her last 6 meets, jumping no worse than 5 feet 4. In the meet she did not win, Penelope finished 3rd behind the number 2 jumper in the state of Indiana and the number 1 jumper in the state of Ohio. She won the CHL or 2 weeks ago, winning that championship by a half a foot. She broke the school record of 5'5" with a leap of 5 feet 7 at the Ross Invitational, and she won the district championship last week, beating the previous district meet record by 2 inches, again clearing 5 feet 7 inches. Penelope's mark of 5 feet 7 puts her in a 3-way tie for the number 1 spot in Ohio Division II, and she's number 3 in all divisions in Ohio.
I first met Penelope when she was in 8th grade. She started jumping at the high school kids. And the first time I saw her jump, my first jumping was she looked pretty good. She tells me she had followed her through 8th grade. She was jumping like 4'6", maybe a 4'8", you know. And at the time, my best high school girl high jumpers had been going 4'8". Okay. Most of them were about 4'6". I went to the CHL meet in Penelope's 8th grade year. She goes 5'3". Now, I don't trust CHL middle school marks too much, so I happened to be there. I was actually starting to measure every bar from 5 foot on up. So she got up to 5'3", and that is way higher than any high school girl I ever had. So I thought, how much should we do at the high school level in the state meet? Should have been on the podium in the state meet last year. All right. She, when she cleared 5'7" this year, I thought, that's pretty good. The Olympic standard is what you need to qualify for the Olympics. She's not there, but if you compare her 5'7" mark to what the leading jumpers in the major colleges are jumping right now, she's real close to what they're going. She's a freshman. You know she's going to get better. Just like Eddie's going to get better. We've got a real strong jumping team. Penelope's going to jump Thursday night, and I think she's going to be back at Ohio State on Friday night next week.
And one other athlete is Joel Allen. Joel has accounted for more than 1/3 of the total points the boys team has scored this year. And he's still going, all right? He's in the shot put and discus at the regionals this week. In his 8 meets this season, he's been meet champion in the discus 6 times and runner-up the other 2 times to the same guy who I think is a state champion over in Indiana. And in the shot put, he's been meet champion 5 times and runner-up the other 3 times. He was the team MVP last year and our leading point scorer, that as a sophomore. This year, like I said, he's our leading point scorer. He's got 156 points. Our next highest total is 90. He is the CHL champion in the shot put for the last 2 years. CHL champion in the discus this year. 2 times CHL field athlete of the year. And he was the district champion in the shot put last year, runner-up this year, and he is the district discus champion this year. He's a 2-time regional qualifier in both the shot put and discus. He placed 6th last year in the region in the discus in 2021, and he is in great position this year in both the shot put and the discus to make his way to Columbus. I'm not going to embarrass him by having his excellent throws coach speak about him because his throws coach happens to be his dad. So anyway, congratulations, Joel, and thank you, Chris, for being such an awesome coach.
Thanks, guys. I will say the one special thing about Joel, when he breaks that shot put record, it'll be very special for me because it'll be my name that they take off that board and they replace with his. He's a better thrower than I was, and I expect him to have that record in shot put and distance. So that's very special. It couldn't be a better kid. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to bring up Coach Steve Sawyer and Dozier Ambrose of our boys lacrosse team. As they come up, there's a lot of ways that we can recognize these teams, and these guys have had a season of resiliency and being super competitive and playing teams last year that we had a very tough time against, and then we ended up beating them this year. And we've gotten a lot of compliments of how much more of a complete team that they have been this year. And it's under first year head coach Steve Sawyer, and then junior team leader Dozier Ambrose. So they've been a pleasure to work with this year for sure.
Appreciate that. So for us, some of the key tenets that we're focused on for lacrosse, this is kind of how we started the program, were respect, work ethic, integrity, and initiative. Those are embraced in every single one of those, and I'll share a few examples on that a little bit later. We really focused on the whole person versus just producing stats or wins. We looked at the wins as a byproduct of hard work, effort, and attitude. Some of the key goals that we had, can you all hear me? I can't, okay, is it too loud? Feels like this. Some of the key goals we had were to have fun, increase your lacrosse IQ, continue to develop the whole man, foster a deep appreciation for the game, and build a winning culture. Not winning games, but a winning culture, right, which is, it's different. And then the last one, and this was the team, they came up with this one, and that's a brotherhood. I mean, 50% of our team, we had 20 kids, 50% of our team were freshmen, and we were competing against varsity programs, and the product that we produced was pretty good. I mean, we wound up 8-7 for the year, which was a pretty good record given the stats that we had and where we were from the year before that. Again, it's about the total person. We really focus on empowering the players to make leadership decisions. Dozier stepped up. He was nominated as captain, and he stepped up and filled the role nicely. Some of the things that he did to contribute back to the community, he organized a volunteer program where the varsity players would go down to the youth program. So the Rec Center has a wonderful youth program, and they would go down and they'd spend time helping them prior to coming to practice, and then they'd show up to practice. So Dozier was key on that. Some of the other things that we empowered the captains to focus on was we had Captain of the Week. They had input on practices, and they had input on the way that our strategy looked like for the games. And there were many times where we would be in the middle of the game in the heat of battle, and Dozier would have the maturity to make recommendations about how we should change our strategy going forward. And one last story I'd like to share. Before one of our bigger games, we were competing against Indian Hill. Literally before we're about to face off, he is in the stands registering for his college credit plus classes. So, I mean, it's a great example of a student athlete, and he really embodies that. So, I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with you, and that's it. Is that good?
One of the reasons I wanted to bring up lacrosse, as he mentioned, was our youth programs that we have. And a lot of that starts with a lot of you in the room, but thank you to the youth programs. The lacrosse programs are growing very, very rapidly because of that. And I encourage everyone to check out the youth programs, but also a big thanks to everyone in this room, the community, for all the support, not only that you give the student athletes, but all of our students that are involved in extracurriculars, because it's a very special place to be. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand it over to Martha again.
We're going to finish up the high school. Dennis Chapter, would you please come back up? And we'd like to invite Callie Hilton up as well to talk about TACA.
Hello again. I'm Dennis Shepard, as you knew before. I am the DECA advisor. DECA is the Career Tech Student Organization for the Business Management Program here at Wyoming High School. I'm actually employed by Great Oaks, so the Business Management Program is a satellite program. We've been here for about 5-6 years now, but this was our first year of having in-person DECA. In DECA, we prepare emerging leaders and entrepreneurs for careers in fields such as marketing, finance, hospitality, and management. And it's in thousands of high schools and colleges around the globe. So, Callie here, as a student in Business Foundations in the first semester this year, she was a first-year member in DECA. She chose to compete in a district competition this year in hotel and lodging management, which consists of a 100-question exam and a role play. Now, in this role play, students receive a scenario and 5 performance indicators they must address, and they are given all of 10 minutes to prepare a response. And then they present that response to a judge. The district competition, which included Wyoming, Sycamore, Marymount, and Indian Hill, Callie finished 4th, and that qualified her for a chance to compete at the Ohio DECA Career Development Conference in Columbus. And in March, she competed against over 40 students from around the state, and she was actually state runner-up in all of Ohio. And on top of that, she earned a score of 99 out of 100 on her final role play. That runner-up finish earned Callie a chance to compete at the International Career Development Conference in Atlanta last month, which she did, and she competed against more than 250 students from around the globe. Congratulations, Callie.
To invite up Laura Boomer and Ari Webb, please.
So many of you were here in January when I spoke with Ari, and maybe a little more brief, but it is difficult when I speak of this tremendous musician. Ari is a concert cellist and performs around the world. We are honoring him tonight as the winner of the Overture Award. The Overture Awards are the largest competition in our area in 6 categories. I always leave out one, so here I go. So instrumental music, art, writing, vocal music, theater, and dance. And we have had people win in the past, and it has been quite a while since we have had a person win in instrumental music, let alone on the cello. Ari played this piece for us, our orchestra, prior to our going on spring break this year. It was a piece written by, Zoltan Kodai. It is a piece written for unaccompanied cello. He uses scordatura, which means you have to change the tuning on the cello. And it is a very folk-oriented piece. I can't say that it has a tonality about it, but there were times when I listened where I felt like I was listening to maybe a heavy metal piece, which was really cool in the way you interpreted. One of his classmates told me, and I believe also they told him as well, that they could hear the folk sound in it. And I just think it's a tremendous honor to the work you did to prepare that piece. Besides this Overture Awards this year, and just less than a month ago, Ari was a soloist with the Cincinnati Symphony Youth Orchestra at Music Hall, playing the first movement of the Dvorak Cello Concerto. He was in Austin, Texas, competing in a quartet competition with 3 musicians that do not live in Ohio. They don't live in Cincinnati or in the state. He met them at a camp, and they have continued to work together. That group reached 2nd place in that competition, and one of the things that got my attention is that all 4 musicians memorized their music prior to performing. I don't know if you've ever seen a quartet perform before. They rarely play without music, and this group really is able to speak to each other through their music without having to look at the music. Ari is truly the most accomplished musician I've ever had the good fortune to work with, and still a person who wants to bring out the best in an orchestra, certainly without maybe him thinking about it, bring out the best in me, and it's an honor to work with you. So thank you, Ari.
Lastly, we would like to recognize our Caring for Our Watershed students. If any of you are here, please come on up. Okay. The advisor is also Tracy Majors, who is not able to make it. So I will read from that script. The Caring for Our Watersheds contest is a statewide contest that requires participants to submit a written proposal identifying an environmental issue that they see in your community and to propose a solution to address the problem. Judges selected 10 finalists out of over 130 entries to receive up to $1,000 to implement their solutions. Finalists then presented their implemented projects to a different panel of judges at the zoo at the end of April. This year, as part of the AP Environmental Science class, we had 2 finalist groups. Melina Dennis and Linnea Stolmar came in 5th place, winning $600 for their project, The Butterfly Effect, where they constructed a milkweed garden to attract pollinators. Eli Allen, Andy Mesco, and Wyatt Metz came in 7th place, winning $450 for their project, Air It Out, where they installed aerators throughout the high school, helping to conserve water and to save the district money. This was the 10th year for the contest, and Wyoming has been well represented once again. This contest is a great opportunity for students to get involved in their community, make a positive change in the world, and represents authentic learning in a powerful way. I'd like to invite up Gina Kirshner, our primary principal.
Good evening. We are so excited to recognize some of our youngest cowboys here tonight. So I would first like to call up Teacher Julie Rauch and any of her students that are here. As they're making their way out, I want to let you know that they are one of 2 groups that won some grant money to do some environmental work. So.
All right, so I want to thank the city first for making this grant available every year. What a great idea to get kids involved in the environment, to get them outside. And I have to say that my class had a lot of fun brainstorming ideas, and really it came from seeing a toad outside that didn't have any place to go. And so we came up with toad hotels, bug hotels, what else? Birdhouses, what? Mason bee homes, to butterfly house, to put out in the gardens around Hilltop and give them a place to go. So I'm going to have my students introduce themselves.
I'm Anthony Auld. I'm Shane Commitment. I'm Hannah Edelstein.
So give them a round of applause. Invite Mrs. Sarah Beard, who is here representing herself and Mrs. Fox. Mrs. Fox, if you or any of Mrs. Fox's 4th graders are here, you're welcome to come on up at this time as well. They're going to talk to you a little bit about the work that they've done through St. Grandmother.
Again, a special thank you to the City of Wyoming for this opportunity. Ms. Fox and I and our 4th grade friends came together and we had this opportunity to write a grant to improve our school environment. And some of our friends came up with the idea to titled a nature hangout. Our space at Elm, what we were missing was a place to play. If you didn't want to be on the blacktop, or if you didn't want to be on the play structure, if you wanted to be with your friends connecting, you wanted to find a safe space within nature to connect, be away from those balls and all the madness. So it came up with an idea. That was their idea, and then they spent time drafting. They came up with the plans. They wrote the grant themselves. They reached out to the community for support and built with their own hands this nature hangout, which opened today, and it was very, very popular. And we're very, very excited, and Elmer's had a great time. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
I'm Laura Sloan. I'm Leah Renee. I'm Olivia Gazal. Jennifer Keaton. I'm Charlie Evans.
Okay, next, I'd like to call up Holly Benjamin. Holly is one of our art teachers in the primary, and she is here to recognize some of our youngest artists in the district who have won some awards for their art this year.
Hello. Thanks for being in there. I'd like to call up these students if they're here. Cora Cooper, Audrey Dilhoff, Eva Johnson, Celia Rubenstein, Rosalind Schroer, and Liliana Wilhelm. I just can't be so proud of these kiddos. First of all, I just want to say I am so appreciative to work in a beautiful place that celebrates the arts, and to be able to have a recognition like this is important. And Liliana, I think I've been with you since kindergarten, am I right? So it's going to be bittersweet seeing you go away this year, but I just know you're going to do great things. So all of these artists, just to let you know what they won, they didn't really win anything. It's more of a recognition, and it's a high recognition. I'm part of the Ohio Art Education Association, and through that association, they open up lots of opportunities for our young students. Because let's face it, a lot of things are geared toward high school and things like that, but the opportunities are amazing. And this year we didn't get to go to Columbus to celebrate, but that's normally our celebrations in Columbus. So we want a lot of recognition for our school district. Cora Cooper, a Vermont third grader, was an honored artist in our Youth Art Month exhibition. Audrey Dilhoff placed first place in our flag design, and she's a fourth grader at Vermont. Eva Johnson placed first place in a graphic design contest, and she is a second grader at Hilltop. Celia Rubenstein is a third grader at Hilltop, and she placed second in the flag design. And Rosalind Schroer, fourth grader at Hilltop, she's an honored artist in our Young People's Art Exhibition. And Liliana Wilhelm, she placed third place in our graphic design competition, and she's a fourth grader at Vermont.
Okay, and then last but not least, I'd like to call Tally Foreman up to the front. Tally is the school librarian that works in one of our primary buildings at Hilltop, and she would like to tell you about the poetry contest that she got our Hilltoppers involved in.
Hello, everybody. I am Tally Foreman. If you are any of my poets, come and join me up here. I see a bunch of you back here. All right, so while they're in a poetry contest through the Expressive Education, and it is
participate, and they take in mind the student's age and grade level, and the overall quality of the poem is determined by the following criteria: creativity, age-appropriate language, use of figurative language, structure, and poetic techniques. And I was personally blown away by the poetry that I got from these guys. So overall, we had 41 primary students submit poetry, and a total of 16 Hilltop students were accepted for publication. I will let them introduce themselves.
I'm Crosby Tuesday. We're a third grader at Hilltop. I'm Eva Wilson, also a third grader at Hilltop. I am Liza Lippert, and I'm a second grader at Hilltop. I'm Melanie Evans, and I'm a fourth grader at Hilltop. I'm Savannah Heating, and I'm a first grader at Hilltop. I'm Lily Seegers, I'm a fourth grader at Hilltop. I'm Grace Carters, and I'm a fourth grader at Hilltop. I'm Katie Kellner, and I'm a first grader at Hilltop.
I also just wanted to recognize those that were not here tonight. We had Tessa Kramer, Maggie Snyder, Eva Johnson, and we had Scarlett Matthews of third grade, and Ava Swinehart, and Emma Henschel, Betsy Harness, and Gracie Cordes is here, and Anna Bowling.
And now I'll turn it over to Jennifer Klein from middle school. Wonderful, thank you. So we are here tonight to we're going to continue to talk about the subject of writing. So we definitely see some potential in those poetry writers. We've got one of our teachers up here that's going to be talking in a little bit about some of the things that we do at the middle school. So hopefully we continue to grow those students. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce two of our swing teachers. We have Lynn Denny and Laura Coomer. They're going to talk a little bit about what they are taking our students to. We kind of saw Ari leaving, but it really does begin right here. So I'm going to let them speak a little bit.
Well, hello, everybody. Every year we have a District 14 OVA Junior High Honor Orchestra event. And what that is a group of students in the Cincinnati area from different schools whose teachers belong to the Ohio Music Educators Association in this district, District 14. And the students get music previous to their first practice. They're hand-selected by their teachers, students that we feel would be able to play this high-level music. And the students go on a Friday evening, rehearse with everyone, and then Saturday rehearse and have a public performance. And they're able to work with a guest conductor, which is amazing because the person comes with all kinds of amazing skills and talents for them. And our students that we have, that maybe okay, so Christy Churchwright, Anna Cameron, Caroline Kreitzer, Joel Cooley, Gitu Iyer, Sydney Gerald, Cora Kramer, Aston McNee, and Natalie Martell. Those were our students that were able to participate. That was in January. And speaking of our Green City Arts, we have Mr. Brian Potts. Come on up. We also have wonderful opportunities for our choir singers that Brian is able to get for us.
Hello, everyone. Similar to what Laura just said, we have an Ohio Music Educators Association honor choir event. And if you think back to your time in 7th or 8th grade where your voice is squeaky and things are changing and everything's kind of happening, it's a hard time to sing. So we were very excited this year to have 11 of our students that could participate and be selected for this. It's an event where students get together at Princeton High School early in the morning. It starts at 8 a.m. It was back in January. And we rehearse all day with a variety of conductors, and then we put on a concert that evening. And then prior to that, students work together with me. And it's a chance for us to do advanced music at an advanced level. So it's really challenging music for them. And our 11 students this year that I want to recognize are Allie Best, Maggie Brennan, Georgia Dobbins, Ryan Hench, Ella Fernandez, Gabe Garrison-Chuck, Evan Jolly, Owen Mendenhall, Ariana Say, Allie Wenzel, and Michaela Witt. So thank them for their participation and thank you for the recognition.
All right, we introduced our Power of the Pen lead teachers in January, and since that time, our students were able to compete at the state level, and so I'm going to introduce Beth Turner, and we have Jen Sabe, who's not able to be here with us tonight.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. If any of our writers are here, do you want to come on up? So I don't have to be alone, thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. On May 13th, 7 of our team members qualified for the state tournament at Otterbein University. This is a significant achievement. Only 10% of the Power of the Pen writers across the state ultimately make it to the state level. So for us to be able to send 7 of our team of 12 is tremendous. The writers, both these writers here actually qualified for all 4 rounds of writing. In each round, they were given a prompt and then had only 35 minutes to write a complete narrative inspired by that prompt. Their writing was read, scored, and given feedback by judges from schools all over the state. As a team, our writers created a total of 26 unique stories that had never existed until that day, which I think is really cool to think about. Some of our team members earned individual awards. Davey Cool placed 5th overall in the state. Lorelei Wise placed 7th overall in the 8th grade. Rosie Galvin and Lorelei Wise also earned the Platinum Pen Award, which is for top-level writing at our prior tournament. However, the team score is determined by adding all 7 writers' scores together for everything they did throughout the day. So when we combined our team score together, we actually placed 2nd in the state of Ohio. So now I will let our writers introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Dee Cool and I'm in 7th grade. I'm Rory Rudicelli and I'm also in 7th grade.
Mr. Nick Allen was not able to be here this evening. Do we have any of his students from Model UN? Please come on up. All right, earlier this evening we had our Model UN students at the high school level, but it kind of begins here at the middle school. Mr. Allen took our students on a 2-day conference in which part of the event allowed them to facilitate a crisis committee where students were assigned to historical figures from Cincinnati's past. They used different background information about their selected person to engage in a debate concerning various aspects of Cincinnati history, including conflict between the German and Irish immigrants, cholera outbreaks, transportation advances, and the building of canals. On day 2, these students also presented and debated on resolutions that they had prepared on their own. These topics included reducing hate crimes, creating an Asian alliance similar to NATO, exploring living concrete technology, advancing ecotourism, treating depression, improving digital cash donations, regulating corporate activity in developing nations, and these are high-level topics, and creating a new branch of the UN dedicated to promoting the work of child advocates. So these students went and represented our building very well. So congratulations to them on behalf of Mr. Allen. I'm going to also let them introduce themselves, and please tell us your grade level.
I'm Henry Renee and I'm in 10th grade.
Thomas Murray, I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Rory Rudicelli and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Evelyn Wackler and I'm in 6th grade.
I'm Matthew Erickson and I'm in 7th grade.
Thank you. I know it's a late night. We really appreciate you being here. We have amazing kids. You know that. They are your kids. Thank you for letting us share in all that they offer. Have a great night. Thanks again for all of our students and our faculty.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, May is the time of year that we approve an update of the 5-year forecast, and so we're just going to hit the highlights. October or November is the major submission of the 5-year forecast, so normally we just take the month of May to update the current fiscal year and any major revisions to forecasted amounts. So just a few reminders about the 5-year forecast. It is a statutory document required for every public school district in Ohio. And so, again, we do it twice a year, once in November and once in May. It includes 3 years of historical revenues and expenditures, and then 5 years of projections, the current fiscal year, and then projections for the next 4 fiscal years. It is a general fund only document, so it reports the general activity of the district, but certainly not all of our financial activity. We have lots of other financial activity going on in other funds. This is a general fund only report. It is forecasting a reliable trend. That is the intention of the forecast. Everything we know about the forecast is that after we hit save or print, the assumptions are only valid for that particular moment, but that's why we discuss them at length. Certainly forecasting is difficult in any environment. Coming out of a pandemic has made it more difficult, and so that's why it's important to remember that we're forecasting reliable trends. We do have some areas of continued uncertainty, but we continue to model based on all the data that we have currently available, and we're going to highlight some of those areas of uncertainty, how they've manifested themselves in the current version of the forecast tonight. We're going to start with revenue. We have 3 material revenue sources. The first is real estate taxes. Real estate taxes is our most material revenue source. About 41% of our general fund revenue comes from our homeowners. About 10.9 current year in real estate taxes. We have passed our most recent levy in May of 2017. So if you're looking at the chart there, you see an increase in 2018, the first half of that collection, second half collected in 19 and into 20. So we are still collecting on that 8 mills last passed in May of 2017. We did see some valuation change, so when the county went through reappraisals and homeowners saw an increase in their values in 2020, we did see a rate reduction that guarantees that we don't see new revenue unless we have new operating money. So that's an important concept of Ohio school funding. As property values go up, the effective millage rate goes down, and so we're only collecting on existing operating levies. Our second most material revenue source, first one is property taxes, second is school district income tax, about 31% of our total revenue. And this is an important line item because it has shifted, and the amount that we're forecasting has shifted in the forecast that we're adopting tonight. It's a lot of data on this sheet, but there's some important information up there. Wyoming is collecting on 2 income taxes, a 0.75% income tax passed in November of 1989, and then a 0.5% income tax passed in May of 1994. So those have been around for a pretty long time. So our total collection, 1.25% on all income. Our 22-year average growth, so over the 22-year history, is about 2.9%. Okay, so that weathers the storm of some good years and some bad years. And so you can see even some of those in recent years just by that chart on the bottom right of that screen, of the screen. So in fiscal year 21, coming out of the pandemic, we saw a 0.74% decline. And then we had forecasted, based on that most recent data, a 1.5% growth in this line item for fiscal year 22. We received our last payment for the fiscal year at the end of April, and we saw actual growth of 9.95%. So a very healthy collection for us this fiscal year. Given that recent collection, but also understanding that we saw, back in fiscal year 19, we only saw a 0.27% growth, and then we saw the small decline in fiscal year 21. We have modified the forecast to include a projection that includes 2.5% growth, so we increased it up from 1.5 to 2.5. We talk about this at length at our finance committee with our finance committee members, which include union leadership and our board members and our superintendent. This is the area that is the most volatile when you think about our revenue. Property tax, very stable. Ohio school funding is designed that way. School district income tax, less stable. So while we are appreciative and our modeling shifted the model to increase based on a very healthy collection year for fiscal year 22, we also know that none of our data over the past 22 years would suggest that that's going to be replicated. We've never seen 2 years of that much growth in any of the 22 years. So we feel good about that 2.5%, being able to, over the life of the forecast, being able to absorb any of that volatility that we might see again. Our history would tell us to expect the volatility in more of a pattern as opposed to something more stable. Our third most material revenue source is state funding. So the first two are all local, property taxes and school district income tax. The third one comes from the state. We are in the first year of a new school funding model. It's called the Fair School Funding Plan. It's currently being phased in. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. It's about 21% of our total revenue. There are some new components in it this year. Versions of our revenue are restricted, where in previous years they haven't been. So that's a little bit new for us, and we're just having to track that differently. But again, you can see what's happened in terms of state funding over the past couple years. Hasn't been very stable. Most of that was due to the pandemic. So the new funding formula should provide a little more stability for us. But again, it's only about 20% of our total revenue, and nothing about the new Fair School Funding Plan suggests that we're going to see an increase. So I would expect our state funding to hover around 22% unless something very serious changes at the state level. And so really that's it when we think about revenue. I mean, those are our three biggest buckets. The first two are all local, property taxes and school district income tax, and then a little chunk of state funding. So when we move to the expenditure side, no material changes in this version of the forecast. Salary and benefits are still making up about 81% of our budget, because what do we know about schools? Schools pay staff members to serve kids. That's what we do. And so, we're right in the benchmark across Ohio. Anywhere between 80 and 85% of any Ohio public school budget is spent on salaries and benefits. So we're right there. Modeling some growth over the life of this forecast, both in wages and benefits. Purchase services, this line item again is about 13% of our budget, again modeling some moderate growth. We will have to continue to evaluate that as we start to see some inflationary pressure on some of our line items. This will be something that we will continue to revisit every October and every May to make sure we don't need to do a shift in our purchase services line items. These are things that we contract out for, and so simple like your own home, you pay for some services like utilities and insurance. And so for us, that also means our contracted services transportation. We contract transportation, some maintenance and custodial services in some of our buildings, technology services, substitute procurement, and some special ed services are in there as well. So what's left? We think about salaries and benefits and then purchase services. Not much left. So about 3% is materials and supplies and capital outlay. This does shift a little bit for us, just depending on where we are in the cycle of some of these things. And so materials and supplies, the most material component of that is textbooks. And I know we have some textbook adoptions on the agenda later tonight. So you see some fluctuation in those line items related to the cycle of those purchases. Same with, on the capital outlay side, technology purchases, both devices and infrastructure. That some of that has also been impacted by some federal COVID relief funding that we've received. We were able to redirect some of those expenditures. Remember, I said at the very onset that this doesn't include every fund in the district, only the general operating fund, so those COVID relief dollars aren't reflected. But you can see like a reduction in fiscal year 21 because we redirected some of those expenditures in alignment with the requirements of some of those COVID relief dollars. So what does all of that mean? We saw a little bit of an increase in revenue, actually a significant increase in revenue when we think about that shift from 1.5% on income tax up to 9%. And then we are seeing some forecast positive relief on the expenditure side. So what does all of this mean? When we think about where we're going as a district, we, in the bottom right corner, we have continued to have this cash balance benchmark of $5 million that has really guided our work. And so we have identified that $5 million saying that when we get to that benchmark, we know that that's a time that we as a district are going to need some new operating money. And so, we continue to carefully watch economic indicators and the impact on state and local revenue. As I mentioned, our income tax is our most volatile line item. And so while we have shifted that projection up to 2.5%, we know that there are lots of things going on in the Ohio economy, the national economy, and the global economy that could impact our collection. And so we'll continue to monitor those. It's something, again, that we talk about every single month at Finance Committee. I believe that the COVID relief dollars have now ended, so we're continuing to spend down in accordance with the requirements of the COVID relief funds that we have. So I don't expect any additional new COVID money. So at this point, we are still stretching that last levy, that 2017 levy, that was 8 mils. And if you look at this current forecast, if every single number on this current forecast were exactly true, that would send us down a path of needing new operating money around fiscal year 24 to collect half of it in 25, and then the full balance in fiscal year 26 to impact that cash balance number of about $5 million. Again, we know that not every number on this is true. What we're doing is forecasting a reliable trend. We definitely had some trigger points in there, income tax being the largest. But at this point, the forecast is stable, and most of that due to significant growth in our income tax, outperforming our estimate this current year. Any questions? We've hit a number of these components every month, and we've talked about monthly financial reports or Finance Committee reports. Any questions? Sure, a couple things. That's a great question. I think initially when the levy was passed, in 2017, there was some commitment that it would last, maybe 3-4 years. And so, one is the commitment of financial stewardship of the board. We've added that to our goals, and it is really important, and it's shifted the mindset about how we work. And so I think that is really important. Certainly COVID impacted us in all sorts of ways. And so, we saw some revenue decline, and we saw some revenue increase. The impact of COVID relief funds has helped us quite a bit. Income tax is always our biggest trigger. And so while we, again, are modeling a 2.5% increase on income tax, anything above that would continue to shift this out potentially further. Anything less than that would have the opposite impact. We're able to weather the storm. That's really the importance of our cash balance, is that we are able to sort of weather those storms when, for example, when COVID happened, and you might remember that we saw a pretty material decrease in our state funding in late March, early April of fiscal year 20. And so, not having ample cash balance would not have allowed us to sort of been able to ride that storm as well as we did. So it's a combination of things. good financial stewardship mindset from everyone in the district, from the board, from our leadership team, from our teaching staff, to some improved revenue receipt compared to the projections, and then again, just mindful expenditures and the shift of some of our general fund expenditures into those COVID relief funds.
And even just what you were saying, it's not a question as much as just an appreciation of how much you guys spend.
Thank you. Four of us. The appreciation of just the economic impact, because even looking at news reports on globally with the cost of just food and school supplies, like the trays, or schools not able to get the food that they need, with the increase of cost that you just read about, that you all continually have to manage too, and that we all, I know, have to look at. But thank you for just always reiterating this so well. It's helpful to hear it as many times as we do. And I love, again, that it's video so that we can send people back to it, so that they can kind of hear it again and again.
May is a briefer presentation, so if folks are viewing this and they say, wow, that was really fast, and I still have a lot of questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll do a broader presentation when we do the full forecast, when we adopt it in November. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's a lot here to keep in mind. Certainly, we did tell them for 3 or 4 years, and amazingly enough. At a certain point, we'll want to go backwards and why did you do this to me? All right. We are at board committee reports. Finance committee will not be meeting August.
Can you do the update from our last meeting?
If you would like to, please do. Oh, yes. Sorry.
Thanks, Jeannie. Finance Committee met on May 2nd, I believe, and we, at that point, took a deep dive into the income tax collection. We just received our final payment of the fiscal year, and so we were analyzing our income tax collection. We receive our income tax in 3 buckets, estimated payments, withholding, and payments with returns. And so we were analyzing the collection of those for the entire fiscal year, and then also how we forecasted those out that ended up on the actual cumulative effect of that ended up on the forecast. We also reviewed the salary and benefit analytic. That's something that we do at every meeting. And we also talked about healthcare costs, expecting some increase in healthcare costs effective July 1st. So we talked about the potential of that at Finance Committee as well.
All right, thank you. Citizens Advisory, CAC had a final celebration.
Start. Since we weren't able to have the, historically we've tried to have a little celebration when people start the year, but we were able to meet outside at station on May the 4th with some of the CAC members and some of the people in our district, just to celebrate all of their hard work for some outgoing for 2 years, for other people they'll have 1 more year with us, and then to also get some great insight from them about what do they feel were successes of the year in the manner in which we're running CAC, what were ways that we could do a little bit better, what might that look like next year, and who are some people that they could reach out to let them know that we're always looking for a good group of citizens, but what that looks like for time commitment. So it was a really nice way to casually get together, and I feel like we got a lot of great information to go on notes and to send us today. About that.
Yeah, well, and just, again, thank you to those members who have served 2 years, staff members and community members who were recognized tonight. It is a powerful, super informative group, and very, very much appreciated. And so that application process is open through July, I believe. And that's been posted on our website. And so anyone who's interested in being part of that great work can access that information on our website.
Superintendent Committee Liaison Reports, the Belonging Committee.
I'll continue. We had our final meeting of the year on May 17th. This was a great opportunity to hear from the different study teams or work teams. We have 3 different teams that are looking at different structures within our school district with a lens on equity. And those study teams are working on student discipline, analyzing the student discipline data, curriculum resources, and communication. And so each one of those groups shared with the entire team the work that they had done, the findings that they had come to, and really it was a chance for them to hand the baton over to the district to continue that work. And we also spoke about how to maximize our potential in our work next year. We did have a change that's coming to the group. Our equity coordinator, Lena Patton, will no longer be with us next year. She is taking another position in the school district where she'll be an associate principal. We're excited for her, but that's a loss of a great resource for the team. So we spoke about the ways that we can continue our own learning as a team, as a belonging inclusion collaborative, but also carry that learning out into the district with this mindset and goal to really increase belonging and the experience that our students, our staff, and our families have in Wyoming City schools. So lots of planning to do over the summer, all based on the great feedback that we've gotten from the Belonging Inclusion Collaborative.
I think I might have missed an email or something relative to Lena moving to a new role. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So, and we always celebrate these things as like moving on to a great new assignment. Is there anything that we learned or we would say we are learning as a result of the time we've been spending in this area that also contributed to her identifying some other thing that she's going to do?
I don't believe so. I think this is a personal choice for her.
The presentation she gave to us was that she really missed working daily with kids. And she wanted to go back, and she's got an assistant principalship at Laughlin, and felt that there was a place there where she was needed and wanted to get involved. So that's kind of the way she laid it out to us.
And one of the structures that we had worked on with Lena as we thought about the upcoming year was to develop core lessons for ways that we could learn strategies to be inclusive in all practices. She is continuing to build those lessons and continuing to talk with our team, which will carry out those lessons. So there'll be some transition that we continue to work with her over the summer.
Well, then we'll go on to community engagement. There have been a number of things that I'm sure people would like to report on.
Okay, the last PSA meeting was Thursday, prior to May 8th, so it was a little lighter just because everyone was working on May 8th, which was a huge success. And a big crowd. Thankful to all of them for all the work they do. They just were grateful to all the parent volunteers and everyone who's worked so hard for the school. So that was Thursday, and then May 8th was a huge success on Friday. And the rest isn't it. I mean, there's so many school things happening different than
Today, I was going to say today. So I was looking at you because we were celebrating today the parade of graduates, and so our graduates were walking through the buildings, which was just phenomenal. A chance for them to connect with their buildings, with staff members they've worked with their peers. It was awesome. Just a really nice celebration for students. So that's just right on my tongue today.
So earlier this month on the 11th was the Kaya Grant Memorial event, which was amazing. Lots of first responders were there, families. Like a really, really nice event. The display is beautiful. If you haven't seen it, it was awesome. It was brief, but it was just like very poignant. So I thought that it was a great collaboration with the city and the schools and the family, and just I hope that people just see it for years and years to come.
All right, last week there was a meeting between the city and school. It takes place 3 times a year, and the city brought us up to date on some projects they have going that may or may not affect us. First of all, they're working on the water, what do I call it? Water retention edifice that's right by the Hilltop School, and of course they've got it all blocked off, so there was some concern about how the building there this week, but I think everything's under control, and every time I go by it looks cleaner and cleaner, and they will paint it and put water back in it. It has no water in it at the moment. You're drinking Cincinnati water, not Wyoming water, but it will come back. The second big project they have going is going to be right outside of Vermont School, and that actually is going to affect us, but probably not until next February, but there will be some days when access to the front of the building, getting the buses in and out, getting the people in and out will be a puzzle that our transportation guru will just take on and solve immediately. So we're not worried. The third project is the Crescent Park, which maybe doesn't affect us directly, but it will be our students will be allowed to use it. All children will be allowed to use it, but our kids will benefit from it. And then we shared with them our projects that we have going, including our high school project. Looked into the future. They had a very smooth process to pick their new council holder. So it was nice to hear. We compared notes. We're pretty much doing it the same way. And each side has. We shared our information and they shared theirs. So I'm expecting that to go quite well this week. Anything else from the community? Great, then I guess we'll move on. How about the facilities committee? They have not met.
No, just with it being the last week of school, our maintenance team is gearing up for all the summer work that needs to happen. And so as soon as our students are out, they will disperse across the district and do the great work that they do to prepare our spaces for signature.
I'm going to skip policy review because we're going to move on that a little bit later. Student achievement.
Yep, recently we just met last week and had a district leadership team meeting. Several of the agenda items included evaluation trends. One of the things we do with evaluation trends is we look for changes over the years in our evaluation data of staff. So that was one of the topics that we discussed at that point. We reviewed district goals and talked about district goals through the lens of the new strategic plan and just to make sure that we were on track to begin what we call the building leadership team retreat, which is coming up on June 7th, which is an exciting work where each building leadership team works to create goals at the building level and then create professional development plans. So we want to make sure that we're aligned on our district goals that guide that work. We also, again, we spoke about that professional development planning, and we had some reflections on DLT, which is district leadership team. How does it work best, and what were the things that worked well this year, and how can we improve upon our work? It's a very high-performing team, and I appreciate that the membership of that team really honors the goal of being leaders in our school district, and we're continuing to build that team and to build their purpose and planning for the future.
All right, thank you. Going on to the Board of Education report, would you like to talk about those items?
What we have, this is our second read of the 23-24 district calendar, and I can hit some highlights of the district calendar. It looks at an August 9th start date for students, and that puts the last day for students at May 22nd. May 23rd would be the final day for staff. Winter break would begin. The final day for students would be on December 22nd, and the first day for students back after winter break would be on January 8th. And we are trying to build in this calendar. There are some alternating days for professional development, Mondays versus Fridays. I know we've heard over time that when we have it consistently on a Monday or a Tuesday. That's difficult for families always to continue to go to those days, so we're trying to alternate those. And so those are some of the bare bones of the calendar. Sometimes there's some parameters that are difficult to work with as we figure out the calendar dates. And really, one of the first things we look at is ending the first semester at winter break, and then having a balance in the number of days within a semester, first semester versus second semester. And from that initial decision, then that kind of guides the rest of the decisions that we have in building a school calendar. Questions?
Just that I know that at least when Billy and I are on leadership team, and we ask you a lot of these questions because a lot of the feedback we get that I think is helpful when you just explained it is the start date feeling somewhat early, but when you really look at when the break might fall and that some of those dates shift and how spring break lands and that shifts a little bit. I think maybe that one's, could you clarify? That's my question. For some people, some of the question I get with frequency is maybe how spring break changes within, this year it was mid-March and the next year it's maybe end of March. But is it because of the same reasons that when you guys are looking at how holidays fall?
That's okay. That's often part of it, but there are a lot of times where it makes sense to have spring break connect with the end of the third quarter. And you can see the end of the third quarter is earlier, March 8th this year, so it didn't make sense to have spring break that early.
That was one of the discussions.
And so you can see spring break is, and I didn't comment on this, but it's connected then to March 29th, which is not a school day, so that continues that spring break into the first week of April. And part of the challenge on the start of a school calendar and end of a school calendar is, it's connected to the days of first semester versus second semester. We're trying to keep those balanced, especially for a high school schedule. But it's also connected to the number of days of instruction before students are required to take state tests. And we want to make sure that we maximize the time that teachers have with students before they're held accountable for those state tests. And it's, no one likes state tests, but it's a factor that we have to factor in to these calendars as we build them. And what we see is that start date, it seems to tick back one day later every year, and so that will continue to do that. And it seems to be on a 7-year cycle, and then it goes back, and then it slowly goes one day later each year.
That was interesting, your comment that some of the parents are concerned about the Monday and Friday professional days because we put it there a number of years ago because parents did want those 3-day weekends. So that's interesting.
I think what some people experience, and this might be a pandemic effect, in that when certain classes were only held on a certain time, and during the times where we were in hybrid, it affected some people in some ways as opposed to others. And so we were actually looking at the number of days where students weren't physically in school because there was a holiday or professional development day on one day. And so I think that really stood out at that time, but it was because we were living within the middle of a pandemic.
All right, thank you. Policies. There are 2 new policies, if you want to talk about those, and then we are also looking at, this is our second read of a number of other policies.
So these 2 policies are job descriptions for superintendent of schools and the treasurer, and you can see the general details of these positions. Again, this is the first read of these.
Okay. First of all, I just wanted to say it's so much clearer. These 2, oh my goodness, night and day from the new one from the one we had. I had one very picky thing. When I look at the superintendent's, it begins as he shall strive to achieve district goals for students by providing education direction. The treasure one begins similarly, but talks about collaboration among the other people within the school district. And I'm just being a little bit picky here. Could we, because right now we have a superb treasurer and a superb superintendent who work well together. And we have one of those unbelievable things where we have a treasurer who knows education and a superintendent who understands school finance. That doesn't always happen. And I'm going to say that from experience. So I was wondering if a small change, very small change, but in the superintendent's, there are a number of letters. You go down to letter I, it says, will work constructively with the board, administrative leadership team, district staff to pursue our established educational and operational goals. Could we add specifically in there the treasurer? Will work constructively with the board, the treasurer, and then I realize administrative leadership doesn't, that's an issue, but I'd like to say it. Right now, we don't have a situation that requires it, but it would be lovely to have it.
And I would think that's the way any effective team would work, and that's the way that we work, so I think that makes perfect sense to have that language be identical.
And if you look at the treasure one, which I probably can't bring up fast enough, it goes right away into a collaborative kind of situation. So that's picky, but I'd like to consider. All right, and the policies that we are in our second read, I don't know if you, I did not hear anything from anybody, so I presume there are no questions. Move on. Okay. Next is to approve the primary, middle, and high school math textbook adoptions. That also is in a second read. Any comments? I do. I do. Last time, and what I did members of the board is I put some questions together and I sent them on to Tim, which he has shared. I think Ashley's going to actually answer some of these questions. I had two concerns. One, when we talk, and it's actually not so much about a textbook we're adopting, but not a textbook we're not adopting. And my two concerns revolve around the high school, which talked about not using textbooks. And so I guess I'd sort of like you to approach that again and bring me up to date on that. The question I had asked was, where does a new person, how do they step in and become part of the system? And so I guess that is probably a good place to start.
And Jean, we've been talking about that very question for years, even at my time at the high school. And I think we've come a long way in understanding that the curriculum is not the textbook, right? But the textbook is a support to the curriculum. So I think that's just a philosophical shift for that building as a whole. But as for a new person, when someone comes in, again, we emphasize that the curriculum is rooted in the standards, right? So not only are they able to access those standards, they're always given those standards, but we're currently working on curriculum maps for K through 12. And so those curriculum maps are what driving their teaching, the pacing of that, the essential questions, the standards, the key concepts, the differentiation, the assessments. And all of those receive those curriculum maps upon their hiring. In fact, just prior to this meeting, I was creating a shared drive for all of our staff to be able to access those. And then also our new staff have modules within Canvas that can either be shared with them or copied for them as a starting point. So couple the standards with the curriculum maps, with the Canvas modules we were able to share at the high school, plus the textbook or any other additional support that we have, and that completes the package of what a new teacher would enter into. So they're not entering from ground zero.
Okay. When you talk about additional materials, do we have some kind of a data bank, some kind of a test bank or problems?
Yes, and those are different from kind of grade level or building or subject. So, for example, like the Envisions map that the primary talked about, those come with a test bank for each different grade level. The high school AP itself, the AP stats that they approved, that comes with a test bank. We also have past materials that we have purchased that have downloadable test banks that are still at our disposal because we purchased them in the past. The high school also has Math IXL, as well as does the middle school, which they use. The primary also has MobiMax and SumDog. SumDog's being phased out, but all of those are test banks and arsenals of test questions and differentiated strategies that they can use with different groups of students at different times, just depending on the grade level.
All right, so and this source material that we have, because we have purchased it, we don't have to worry about copyright violation.
Correct.
Okay, that was another question. All right, good. And then I guess the next thing is an alignment K-12. What are the plans to?
So the textbook conversation, Tim and I have talked a lot about this, is that alignment piece is critical, not only vertically but horizontally. And so this year, early on in the textbook adoption, I think it was March, next year is ELA, and we're actually going to do it in September. But Mike Ross from Hamilton County Educational Service Center came and we had an alignment question. We didn't really talk about textbooks. We talked about good teaching and learning as far as mathematics, rigor, conceptualization, application. And so from those philosophy conversations, the group started to understand this is what we need to look for in a textbook, right? So it wasn't a textbook-driven conversation. It was really the foundations and underpinnings of math. Also from those conversations, we talked about some of the gaps that we see. Where are the holes that we see as far as resources? Where are the holes that we see as far as maybe grade level to grade level? How do we look at Algebra 1 in the 8th grade versus the high school? And then a very grassroots conversation that came up in that alignment conversation from our teachers were our acceleration plan at the middle school for math, which we're going to continue to explore next year. So absolutely, I think that conversation that we started with alignment with math, and we're going to continue in each of our textbook adoptions from cycle to cycle, is going to be critical to know where do we look, what type of resources do we need to look at to help support our curriculum, not just solid math curriculum, but our Wyoming curriculum, and how we approach that, because it's a little different maybe from other districts.
And I'll add that I'll just talk loudly. So the importance then of continuing to build those curriculum maps is over time, it's important to identify those resources that are most critical to teach the different topics at each grade level within each department. And then we said as even assessments are utilized or built within the team, it's important to capture those within the curriculum map so that no matter where Algebra 1 is taught, this assessment, this key assessment, it should be done here, here, and here, wherever Algebra 1 is taught. So that level of alignment is really important. Because we have, Algebra 1 is a really good example, being taught at the high school, being taught at middle school, being taught to different people. And so those curriculum maps should identify those critical areas of alignment. That's the purpose of that. And that is a document or plan to grow over time. And so we'll be giving time for people to come in and work on that for years to come.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Board of Education report? May I have a second? May I have a roll call?
Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas? Ms. G? Yes. Mrs. Zoller?
Yes.
Mrs. Broderick? Yes.
All right, thank you. Treasurer's report.
Thanks, Jeannie. Item A, approval of the minutes from the meetings on. Item A, approval of the minutes from the meetings on April 25th and May 10th. Item B, approve the statement of revenues and expenditures for month ending April 30th. Item C, the appropriation adjustments for the month of May. Item D, accept with appreciation the donations. All of those listed there were donations from families to support families in need, but still wanting to go to the 7th grade celebration. And item E is approval of the 5-year forecast. Item F is approval of the report, please.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the report? So moved. I'll second, and roll call.
Mr. Thomas? Mrs. G? Yes. Mrs. Zoller?
Yes.
Mrs. Broderick?
Yes.
Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you. We do have several personnel items. Number one is a recommendation to approve a resignation that was turned in. This is for an educational aide. Number two is recommendation to approve new personnel. And so you can see on our agenda, we have Kyle Monahan, who is being recommended as a high school science teacher. Tiffany Paylor-Sola, who's being recommended as a high school guidance administrative assistant. Morgan Shively as a primary teacher. So we're excited about the impact that these folks will have on our students and our staff and our families as they come in. Number 3, you can see it details 2 different personnel changes. Cassandra Berniker, who was a secretary at the primary level, will be moving to the administrative assistant for the director of people services. Julia Sadala, who is right now a part-time French teacher at our middle school, would be moving to full-time, where she would be supporting students at the middle school and the high school. Number 4 is a recommendation. Actually, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are for renewals of contracts. Number 4 is for Melanie White, who is our high school innovation specialist. Number 5 is for Susie Hankey, our very own director of communications.
Absolutely well done.
Yes, yes. Number 6, Missy Horn, executive assistant to the superintendent, myself, and then June Grubb, who is our EMIS coordinator. And number 8, recommendation to approve unpaid leave for these staff members who are on the agenda. Number 9 is recommendation to approve transition days, and this is for Stephanie Mivers. Stephanie Mivers is the assistant principal at the high school, incoming assistant principal at the high school. This will allow her to connect with James Stallings, to connect with the building leadership team as we have our upcoming retreat, and to prepare for the start of the school year in other ways. Number 10 is curriculum planning, recommendation to approve curriculum planning time, and that is for Louise Anderson. Number 11, I know we have quite a few on the agenda today. This is for crisis prevention intervention training, and this is annual training, very important for these staff members to participate in this training. Number 12, extended year services. This is for these staff members to provide this important service for students that have this as part of their individualized education plan. Number 13, special education curriculum work, and this is for these individuals to continue planning over this summer together. Number 14, extended days for Nikki Bunn. This is to do counseling work at the high school as part of the 40 days that are outlined in the contract. And number 15 is, it's called R-Factor Professional Development Training, and this is for these individual staff members to participate in the training that we have scheduled for June 3rd. And Jeannie, you and I talked a little bit about this, and it's based on what is called the R-Factor, and that comes from this equation, E plus R equals O, where E is an event, R is a response, and O is an outcome. And the work is really focused on the fact that we can't control the events that come into our lives, and we don't have true control over the outcome that we experience. The only thing that we have control over is the R, or R response. And this professional development is about culture building, and it's about building a culture within Wyoming City Schools for our staff and for our students, where we can basically have the best R that we can possibly have, so that we're getting the best outcome that supports students. And so I am really excited about this professional development. It's starting with this core group. It's all focused on culture, and it'll grow from there, and it'll be part of our opening day as we enter the school year next year. Moving on, number 16, you can see we have new clubs. Great opportunity for students to be engaged. And so 16, 17, and 18. 17 is curricular-based club. 18 is a renewal of these student clubs. It is fascinating to hear about the level of engagement our students have in the classroom and out of the classroom. And so I love to see this list just grow and grow and grow.
Can I ask you to go back to the new student clubs? Some fairly obvious, but for instance, what is esports? And what is that going to be?
You want to talk to that?
Esports is actually a league club, so the CHL actually has that as well. But esports is really gaming. In its essence, that's what we would call it. There's a league, they compete, there's a series of games. So basically what happens is a student pays a $45 entry fee to the league. and then the director of the club and the student leadership then decide what games that those particular students will play and compete against. There is serious, and I mean serious scholarship money available in these esports tournaments. I mean $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 sometimes. This was a club that we had a lot of discussion about, just making sure that we knew what students were participating in and how often they were participating. So I met with Chris Stewart about that. But a very popular, growing, particularly in our region. Marymount, in fact, is building a new building with an esports naming room in their new high school because of the popularity of this club and up and coming. And Chris Stewart is going to be the sponsor of that. He kind of piloted it to see if we could get it off the ground, and we definitely have a group of students who are interested in that.
The Indian Student Association, is that?
It's a new club. Again, just trying to reach all the different student groups that we have and be a representation of our high school. Ms. Effie Jansen-Jada, the high school counselor, is going to be volunteering in that role this year. This was really a student-initiated club. And just an opportunity to learn about a different culture, to make sure we hear student voices in all aspects, to make sure that we are informing and educating others and creating awareness. So I wouldn't say a huge group of students at this point, but really wanting to grow that into an opportunity for awareness for all.
And the Alliance and Wyoming Walks, if you just go down the list.
Yep. The Alliance is actually an extension of the Alliance at the high school, so that will extend down into 7th and 8th grade. So really it's just a continuation of that. Again, making sure that we are creating awareness, making sure we're supporting our students in all aspects. And then Wyoming Walks, I think, for those of us who have been around for a while, gosh, the name is escaping me at the high school, the walk. Relay, thank you. I was like, the name is escaping me. Mr. Vickus is wanting to bring that back and make that a robust opportunity. And so he thinks that there are lots of opportunities for those non-runners out there to get involved, build awareness, do some fundraising, and so probably looking to build that back up to what we've known in the past.
So it would be a fundraiser for the American Cancer?
I think various and sundry things. One would be, as we traditionally know, but I think he's looking to kind of broaden that scope and a lot of community partnerships, right? Where, like he has talked about the biking club that we have here, how to capitalize and maybe partner with them and do some walks. I know one of the students wanted to do with the Humane Society with animals and get awareness around that. So I think we'll look at just different community outreach opportunities to build capacity and keep children healthy and walking.
Great. Thank you.
And then moving on, items B, C, and D are all connected to student fees. B is primary, C middle school, and D high school student fees. And then the next group, items E, F, and G, are the updated handbooks for primary, middle, and high school. And we can come back to these if there are any questions. Item H is the updated classified handbook. Item I is new, and that is an administrator handbook, and that is to just to document the internal procedures, processes that we have so that we can keep those moving over time. We're practicing those, but it's important to document those so as new folks come in, we understand how these things work. Item J is from the Hamilton County Educational Service Center, and this is a proposal for an instructional coach. And so this is, coming out of the work that we have done within our middle school specifically, as we focused on data, and as we've really dug deeply into our multi-tiered systems of support. The teachers, as an outcome of that work, have asked for some additional support, and this instructional coach will come to the middle school once a week and to work on instructional planning with our middle school teachers. So that's a very exciting opportunity for them.
Okay, so the reason it is the cost is because it's only once a week.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's not an FTE then.
Correct. Yes, correct. Just one day a week. Yep.
Okay, great.
Item, let's see, K, and this is the Hamilton County Educational Service Center annual contract. So these are the services that we annually receive from the county. Item L is MEO Business Group Therapy Services Agreement, and this supports our students with occupational therapy and physical therapy needs. Item M, we have 2 overnight field trips that we are requesting approval for, and this is the high school Model UN trip to Michigan, and then the high school Model UN conference in Montreal. So excited to continue to talk about those opportunities. You heard from students earlier today who have benefited from these experiences. Item N, this is a contract with Forward Edge, and so Forward Edge provides our on-site technology services. They also manage our services behind the scenes, and so they monitor all of our equipment 24 hours a day, which is critically important. And so we have had a great experience in our technology, which we depend on more and more every day, working every day. And the big reason that happens is because they are connected to this, they do great work. And so this is a continuation of those services.
Sorry, for the question.
Yes.
The personnel that they provide, can they change those people in and out, or do we agree when we agree to this? This is a 3-year contract. Do we agree to using the same people throughout this?
Well, I think that's a conversation. Sometimes those people within organizations do change, and so when there's a potential change, they come to us and they talk with us about those potential changes. And so there are conversations before changes like that happen. Yes, but yes, that is a reality of working with an organization like this. And then the third item is, you can see this is a 1-year contract, and this is for curriculum and technology integration coaching, and that is for an individual to actually work with our teachers, and she supports how teachers integrate technology into the classroom from an instructional perspective. And she'll be working mainly with our primary schools and our high school next year because of the other instructional coach that's going to be focused on the middle school. And item O, summer athletic camp coaches and counselors. And continuing on, item P, excited about the popularity of our science and technology camp, and so this is to approve these camp staff members and student coaches. And item Q is summer program course camp proposal. This is middle school summer reading camp, and this continues to support students that have needs for intervention, and that will be learning that will occur over the summer. And again, this is connected to COVID relief funds that we're using to support this resource for students. Item R, contractor agreements for applied behavioral services, and this is for behavioral supports for students that are in. And that is it. Just 11 or R items. A lot.
Are there, if we go back to the handbook for a minute,
Sure.
anybody wants to make a comment about that? Before we move to accept.
You want me to go?
I think I got a note, so I had one little comment on the handbook. I was glad to see the shift to the leveling of the discipline. And the handbook reflecting that. And I just kind of looked, there's a little clerical error or something that I noticed, but I think it's been corrected.
Okay.
Looks great, though.
And we had talked about the handbooks, especially that discipline information in the handbooks would be a great opportunity to talk about at a future planning meeting, just to talk about the alignment between the middle school and the high school and how the handbook creates or opens up opportunities for conversations with students. When something happens, how do we help students understand what happened, help them deal with the problem of what happened, but then also re-enter into the classroom in a positive way. That whole idea of restorative practices. And so that's the overall intention with some of those changes and the alignment that we want to see happening between our middle school and high school. And so we're eager to have some of those conversations and talk more deeply in upcoming planning meeting, perhaps.
We talked about this. We talked about this because we're all pretty much used to the points system of discipline. And now that that's gone, when we talk about this new leveling process, and it would be a good positive conversation to have, as opposed to right now.
I think it'd be good, and it makes more sense that they're I just think over the few years,
few years seeing them be more aligned for the handbooks versus the language being so distinctly different from each, like primary, middle, high school. It was easier to read, to understand. Points kind of confused me.
It was positive.
And I know you always like talked it through, but they were a little subjective. Anyway, my question, I emailed you. I don't know if it was handbook related, but just it triggered it when I read it. I think we all have. There's students who need to use the restroom. So some of it in the handbook was, I get it that there's not bags. I think some kids are confused now because with COVID they can carry their bags around, right? But I know that it used to be you can't carry your bags. I also respect that for probably more middle school, high school, you don't want people to take advantage of always using the restroom. I get that. Just didn't know, where does that integrate with teachers or mostly females, sadly? Sometimes need an emergent restroom. And there have been times that people have talked to me that they are not allowed to go to the bathroom because they've either gone for their time and they don't have time to get to their locker to get their feminine supplies or anything that they might need, or time to go down to the nurse. So I just wanted to bring it up. Is that something that, because it says no purses or bags, and my mind goes to like, how are you supposed to carry what you need but still be safe school and be able to also use the restroom without embarrassing yourself?
At the building levels, we certainly, I mean, you're absolutely right, Heather, that there's that delicate balance of you always want students in the room learning instruction, but things happen that students need to be given permission to go to the restroom, the nurse, whatever it may be. So that's always a delicate balance, and some classrooms have different past procedures than others. But for the most part, we talk about the delicacy of those conversations, right? That you always have the best of intentions for students, right? If a student, especially a high school student, or even, a middle school student, even a primary student, I have a primary student, if she says, I have to go to the restroom, right, or I need to go to the restroom, that's probably legit, right? The other piece of that, and particularly with the girl and emergent issues, pencil pouches are great. And I say that not facetiously, right? Something that you can just slide in a pencil pouch or keep there. We also have, so that students don't have to go to their lockers. There are definite emergent projects with the nurse or in the bathrooms themselves to prevent that kind of stop time. So we just try to educate students, particularly in high school class meetings, about that, using your time, how to use it effectively, and what to keep on your person, and how to do that discreetly. Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of it's important for staff, and I think what's happening as females, women, girls are starting with their cycles very young. I mean, so I know girls starting at 8, and so it's sometimes things that I know maybe some teachers, even people just aren't thinking about. And I've just had several people say that they're like, how am I supposed to, I'm not.
And in fact, I think it was Thursday, the 19th, Thursday, our 5th graders just went through that conversation with our counselors and our nurses and some core teachers in the building about those changes. And that was part of the question, like how do you say, you know, if it's unexpected, or how do you say if it is expected, how to enter into that conversation, and as the adult, how to receive that acceptably and professionally and with compassion. And so we had that conversation with 5th graders last week, just because we assume those conversations are happening at home, but not always, and so we just try to reiterate those with staff and students.
Absolutely. The anxiety of like getting away from you, but also not getting in trouble, not being targeted. I just wanted that. I didn't know that integrated, but at least it did.
And I know our 5th graders, you know, you talked about the back and forth of the backpacks, the COVID and not COVID. I know our 5th grade team, I just happened to be in the team meeting recently. They're having conversations about what is the best transition for a 5th grader, not only because of COVID, just because of the age and maturity and the locker and the complication of the locker, how to best handle that, so that maybe they operate maybe a little bit differently than the rest of the building because of age appropriateness and development.
This is not handbook related, so I didn't know if there were other questions about the handbook or folks are good. Relative to staffing and hiring, where do we stand relative to filling the roles open for the next fiscal year? I mean, are they all filled, or are we like 20 out of 24? Like, what's the status on that?
Just looked at that today, Ilya, and honestly, I got a little excited because we're closer than we normally are. In the primary division, we have one recess aide that we are looking to fulfill at Hilltop. We could get by, we made it work with one, but ideally we would have two, so there's that. And then there is the 1-year first grade position that we are still looking for, which posted a couple weeks ago, and that's because of an increase in enrollment. Literally, we opened up the registration for next year, and in one day we got what we thought we would get over the entire summer. So we've seen an increase there. In the middle school, we have the recess aides, and then the retirement from Ms. Denny that you saw. We're going to be working to couple that with the primary, and then there could be an anticipated opening as well that is coming by the end of the week. And then in the high school, we have an administrative assistant or a Rudix replacement that we are still working on. And with that, we should be complete. So we are down to about 3 or 4, give or take.
Okay. You talked before about how when we have to hire new roles, it gives us the opportunity for our teachers and our administrators to look more like the students that they're serving. When we finish this year, will we be in a place where, especially in-room instruction and people in the buildings that the students interact with on a regular basis, will look more or less like the student population? Okay.
And I can say that confidently without even running the numbers more. I know that every new employee fills out their employee demographic sheet, and they give me just some basic information. So absolutely, I can say that that's definitely more diversified staff that will look more like our student population.
Thank you. When is Olympiad's last day in our district?
It will be in June. I don't have a defined last day. And I'm trying not to really iron one out because I know that she'll still connect with us over the summer as much as she can.
Sure. So when she leaves, will there be an exit interview that's completed? Yes. And is that something that we would have I would have the opportunity to review, or is that not appropriate given the board? Well,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I try and do with everyone who leaves the district, and that would be included, yes.
Okay. Yep, helpful. I understand that only part of her 5-day role was in our district, right? It's like 1 out of the 4 or 5 days. And so the role as an assistant principal was discussed as an opportunity to get back into interaction more with students is a 5-day-a-week kind of a thing. So what she's walking away from is 1 out of those 5 days being Wyoming, but 4 out of those 5 days being something else that was at the ESC. In the role that we filled for our high school assistant principal, was she considered, discussed, or did she apply for that role? Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Is it just something she's going? I know we won't know everything either, but even at DLT, I just heard it too, and I was like, oh, I just feel like we're so excited for the word of her coming, and we realize that like opportunities happen, but to hopefully continue the work is great, but to not maybe have her or somebody like her was a bummer.
Sure. And she'll be close by, and so we talked about ways that we can still connect and share ideas across districts. And so there'll be some new opportunities that maybe even weren't there before, but we're certainly not saying goodbye to her. We'll continue to connect with her.
And it's actually one of the reasons why I'm curious about what will be discussed in the exit interview, because she's really close by, like across the railroad tracks close by, to go into a role that's going to have her more interacting with students. When we were having a role that was open at the high school as an assistant principal, that would also have her more interacting with students. So one thing that I'm curious about is what would be reasons for her having been involved in our district in this part of the work that she wouldn't have applied for the role. Just to understand if there's something that she would say in response to that question that gives us some perspective on what she experienced of us at the time that she was doing this work. Sure.
It's important to clarify, she's the associate principal, not an assistant principal. It's a different role than what we posted.
And she was, and I know this one, she was encouraged to be the principal. And this was not interesting.
But that's information that comes out of the next interview, and I can answer that for anyone.
Question for the field trip, just because a few of us said this question, and I know just so that you're all on board. One of my questions with approving field trips was making sure that I'm looking at we all are looking at what are the needs of the students that are going on the trip in terms of maybe physical accommodations, or just what are needs of the students when teachers or anybody is filling out their trip form. And some of this just comes with when some of our field trips have outside agencies helping with those trips and making sure that things can accommodate. So I just thought it was helpful to read all the questions for the for that. It felt pretty thorough, but I just didn't know if ever, I know that Tim would mention maybe adding some additional things, and I didn't know if that form that I just read was the newest updated one, or if you thought of.
So we will have a review of the field trip form in about 2 weeks.
I thought that would have been really fast.
Yes, yes. to add some additional language around making sure that we're clear and concise.
Thank you. And for those of you, some of it that we realized with an 8th grade trip was just like, even if you think it's clear and concise, maybe hitting some bumps with some needs of students when a trip got closer, that maybe everybody wasn't able to be accommodated. And then our team did great doing that, but maybe faster than needed. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
All right, then may I have a motion to approve the superintendent's report? All right, thank you. May I have a second? All right, may I have a roll call?
Mrs. G? Yes. Mrs. Aller?
Yes.
Mrs. Broderick? Yes. Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
All right, thank you. Superintendent's update.
My update is just the end of the year and all the great things that are going on. It is a busy week with lots of engaging activities. We had the parade of graduates today, senior event this evening, the board celebrations today. In fact, graduation coming up on Saturday. Weather looks like it's going to be beautiful. Students' final day is Thursday. And we do have a professional development day on Friday that offers our staff an opportunity to come together, reflect on the year, what things worked well, what things did not, and what do we change. 8th grade celebrations coming up Wednesday evening. So just a lot to be thankful for, a lot to celebrate. Just pretty amazing things happening for our students. And so watch the calendar, stay connected to the emails, and come celebrate our students.
Would you go over what roles you want for us this week too? Like where can we be to show support? Where would you like us to go?
Yes. Well, we have the 8th grade celebration, and so I'll share more information about the 8th grade celebration at Friday's breakfast. We have at 7:30 coming up for our staff members. You're invited to visit with our staff members for breakfast. Again, that begins at 7:30, and then we'll have our district meeting at 8 o'clock.
I'm sorry, did you say that? I don't know.
That is here. Yep, at the middle school. And then breakfast is here. There's we're having a cookout. That is cookout is tomorrow afternoon, and that begins at 3 o'clock. And we'll have our buildings stopping by. This will be at the high school stadium, and this is our way as a district, the district office team, to say thank you. We send that out during the staff appreciation week. We wait a little bit. We'll wait a few weeks until the weather's nicer. So tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. Just a way for us to say thank you for all the work that our staff members have done. You are welcome to stop by. That will happen from 3 to 5. I don't want to say 3 to 5 tomorrow afternoon. Let me make sure I've got that correct. And then obviously graduation coming up on Saturday.
In graduation, we did receive invitation to our RSVP, so
Great.
that one I got.
Great. And anything else that I missed, we'll make sure we get to that. It might be the day or two before, because there's just a lot happening.